Really playing some pubs, not some pubs, competitive Fortnite. I have 1,162 points. I currently have 1 kill. I found 2 llamas, like, pretty much right next to each other, but they were exactly, there was like mountain. He was like pretty much on the mountain, and one was like on the mountain, but they were super close to each other. Here's something I have noticed. So you know how in one update they made it easier to find llamas, as there's more llamas in every game. Well, or it can be up to there can be 5 llamas now instead of 3. Yeah, well, I feel like they made it easier for you to find llamas in it's easier to find llamas in competitive Fortnite than in pubs, because in pubs I usually don't find these many llamas. Like I was playing arena trios yesterday with my cousin and my friend. Well, not with my friend anymore, but he's my friend and he's Sean's friend still, I guess. But yeah, we were playing. Yeah, with Sam and Sean, and we found llamas. We found at least 1 llama almost every single game. There were some games where we'd find 2, like 2 or 3 llamas. You know, it was really good. After we got a few wins yesterday in arena trios. So yeah. For you guys wondering, how does he have so many points all of a sudden? If you guys have not seen the new update. Well, basically they've introduced. Yes, he got sniped. Ooh, he got self-destructed. Ah, I hit him for 150. Ah, crap. If only that was a. Okay, oh my God. That was a guy right there. No. Yep. Eyes, I don't know why my eyes are burning, but oh, GG, I suck. sometimes, or maybe like probably at 47. And before that, I believe I kill like also 190 pump shot. I know how I'm at 163. I got like 10 points on that game. I don't even fucking know. I'm at 20, which I don't really believe. But
one from every team series, and this is going to be the best NHL player from every country. Now, obviously, it's not from every country in the world, because there isn't a player in the NHL from every country. There is currently 17 countries represented by NHL players, and in today's video, I'm going to go through all of them and let you guys know who I think is the best player from each country represented. So without wasting any more time, let's jump right into the video. Starting the video off with the lone Aussie in the NHL, and that is Nathan Walker. A lot of people remember him probably from raising the Stanley Cup with the Washington Capitals. That was super cool to see. He has a total of 12 career NHL games, 2 points, currently under contract with the St. Louis Blues. Definitely a guy who is, probably not going to be in the lineup, but a role player, and put up decent numbers in the American Hockey League last year with 39 points in 58 games. Nonetheless, no matter how good he is, it really is cool to see an Australian-born player in the NHL. Next up, we have the Netherlands, and like Australia, there is only currently one player in the league from the Netherlands, and that is Daniel Sprong. And it's pretty cool because he's still a promising young player with some good upside. 89 career games played for him, 28 points, 63 games played this past season, 14 goals, all of which coming after the trade to the Anaheim Ducks, 9 assists for 23 points. At one point was seen as like a top-notch prospect in the NHL with Pittsburgh. Things didn't really work out with them, and it kind of just was like Pittsburgh ran out of patience. Now being traded to the Ducks, I think he's going to get a lot of opportunity to succeed and really find his game at an NHL level next season, and I definitely would look at Sprong as a potential breakout player for next year. From Latvia, the best current NHL player in my opinion is Zemgus Girgensons. There is some other guys like Rudolf Balcers who I'm sure will pass Girgensons after he plays a full NHL season, but I can't just put him over Girgensons for a small sample size. Girgensons has 119 points in 420 career games with the Buffalo Sabres, 18 points in 72 games played this past season. He's a bottom 6 guy, definitely not somebody who is going to wow you, but he is a decent role player with Buffalo, and it is cool to see a country like Latvia have a couple of NHL players and one that actually has consistently been in the league for a while and puts up decent numbers in a bottom 6 role. For Slovenia, only one current player, and that is Andrej Kopitar, a very good player as well. A bit of a down year for him with only 60 points, but in the 2017-18 season he was a finalist for the Hart Trophy and won the Selke Trophy. It was an amazing year for him. 1,003 career games played, 888 points. Like I said, one of the top players we have in the game. Even though it was a down year for him, it was basically just a down year for everybody on the LA.
We've transformed this home to show the Keurig K-Cafe brewer makes any house a coffee house. Just pop that in for a coffee, or brew a shot and froth milk for a latte or cappuccino.
Easy peasy.
Now she's a barista.
So frothy. A little piece of heaven.
Thank you, but how's the coffee?
Introducing the all-new Chevrolet Silverado 1500 Custom with 20-inch aluminum wheels and custom Trail Boss with a 2-inch factory suspension lift. Own the street or own
LA Kings, and that team now most likely going through a rebuild. Andrej Kopitar is going to be the perfect veteran presence to have around a lot of those young guys, and luckily for Kopitar, he has already won a Stanley Cup, so I'm sure he's not going to mind, struggling for a couple years while leading his team in the right direction for the future. Next up, we have France, and there are currently 3 NHL players that were born in France. Antoine Roussel, who I think is currently the best, Pierre-Edouard Bellemare, and Alex Texier. Now, I will say, after Texier plays probably one NHL season, a complete NHL season, I think he's going to take over this spot. I'm a big fan of him, and I kind of think he's a dark horse for the Calder Trophy next season, but he's only played 2 regular season games and a couple playoff games, so I can't put him ahead of Roussel just yet. And Antoine Roussel, love him or hate him, Canucks fans, he just actually had a career year, a career high in points, and he only played 65 games, so that signing was actually pretty decent, and he actually played a pretty big role for them last season. 172 points in his career. He's more of like a bottom 6 shutdown guy, but if he can give you 30 points year in and year out throughout this contract with the Canucks, so you got to be happy with it. For Norway, a very easy pick. It's got to be Mats Zuccarello. Him and Andreas Martinsen are the only players from Norway, and Mats Zuccarello is most definitely the better player. 355 career points in 511 games, and 40 points in 48 games played this past season. He most likely would have played a huge role for Dallas down the stretch and throughout the playoffs if he hadn't gotten hurt. I believe he had like 3 points in 2 games before going down with injury, so hopefully he can stay healthy and have a really strong year for the Minnesota Wild because he's still a very, very good NHL player. For Germany, a very easy pick. It has to be Leon Draisaitl. There is some other solid players like Toby Reeder, even though he didn't score last year, Dominic Cahoon, Philip Grubauer, Thomas Gries, Kuhnackel, all those guys are German, but Leon Draisaitl is by far the best. A career year for him, 105 points, 50 goals. I didn't really think he was quite capable of that, but what he showed is that he can be a very good co-star for Connor McDavid, and Draisaitl is definitely going to be one of the better players in the league for a long time. Next up, we have Austria, and my pick is Thomas Vanek, but I would not be surprised and wouldn't blame you guys if you think it should be Michael Grabner. Well, yes, I think Grabner can probably give more right now in their careers than Vanek. Thomas Vanek has showed that he can stay relatively healthy over the past couple years. On the other hand, Grabner, it seems like he can stay on the ice. Thomas Vanek played in 64 games for the Red Wings last year, 16 goals and 20 assists for 36 points. Sometimes I got really frustrated watching him play and thought he was a little bit lazy, but then other times when he was on, he was a very solid player. So that's why I have Thomas Vanek, but like I said, I would not be surprised if a lot of people think this should be Grabner. Next up, we have my pick for Denmark, and that is Frederik Andersen. I think it would have been close between Nick Ehlers and Andersen if Ehlers stayed healthy this past season and didn't really have a down year, but I think this year it showed that Frederik Andersen is the clear-cut guy in my opinion. He's from Herning, Denmark, and he is amazing. He's just played so good over the past 2 years, and is really an underrated piece of the Maple Leafs team. You know, all the attention goes to John Tavares and Marner, Matthews, all those guys this past season, but you could argue that Frederik Andersen is one of, if not their most valuable player over the past 2 years. 60 games played, 36, 16, and 7, a 2.77 goals against, and a 9.17 save percentage. And taking into consideration, the Leafs blue line over the past 2 years hasn't been great, so hopefully now that they took steps to improve that this summer, his numbers should just get even better. For Slovakia, my pick is Thomas Tatar. He's coming off a really good year with the Montreal Canadiens, 25 goals, 58 total points. He has 286 career points in 507 games, and he's still in his prime, and I think he can continue this for a couple more years with the Habs, and that is a big reason why I picked him over Zdeno Chara, because remember, this is the best player at this point in time, like right now, and while Chara obviously has had the better career and will go down as a better overall player throughout the course of their careers, he's kind of on the back end and is going to retire in a couple years, while like I said, Thomas Tatar is still very much so in his prime and can probably score 60 points 1 or 2 more times in his career. That is a big reason why I picked him over Zdeno Chara, but I would not blame you guys if you think Chara is still the better player. For Switzerland, this was another pretty easy pick for me. I decided to go with Roman Josi, but there is some other very talented Swiss hockey players. You look at Jonas Hiller, who isn't as good now, but in his prime he was a very good goalie. Nico Hischier, former #1 overall pick. You also have guys like Kevin Fiala. There is a couple more, but those are just some of the names that come to my mind, but the best does have to be Roman Josi. He's been one of the better and most consistent defensemen in the league over the past couple of years. He's the captain of the Nashville Predators, and he is still at this moment a Norris caliber defenseman, so that's why he was an easy pick for me as the best current Swiss hockey player. For Czech Republic, my pick has to be David Pastrnak. There is some other talented Czech players like David Krejci, Jacob Voracek, Michael Frolik, Martin Hansel, Andre Palat, Thomas Hertl. There is still a couple more, but right now David Pastrnak is the clear-cut #1 guy, one of the top wingers in the entire NHL, and in my opinion, if he stays healthy for the full season next year, he is going to break 100 points. 81 points this past season in 66 games. I would not be surprised if this guy scores 50 next year. I think he's that good and easily the best current Czech hockey player. For Finland, my pick is Alexander Barkov. Now, Finland has quietly become one of the powerhouses of international hockey. In all of the tournaments, they're always finishing high up. Capo Kakko was just drafted 2nd overall, and he's like a Finnish superstar in the making. But in my opinion, right now, the best player does have to be Barkov. 96 points this past season, and you take into account that he showed he can be such a good offensive player with his amazing 200-foot game. In my opinion, he's going to be an amazing player for years to come, and definitely has the potential to win a lot of hardware throughout his career. Next up, we have the Russians, and my pick is Nikita Kucherov, and I feel like I'm going to get a lot of hate for not picking Alex Ovechkin, but Nikita Kucherov has been the best Russian over the past 2 seasons. I know Ovechkin is still like a 50-goal scorer and one of the best players in the NHL, but Nikita Kucherov just won the Hart, just won the Art Ross, had 128 points. I think he is is obviously the #1 rushing guy right now, and yes, you could make the argument he plays on a stacked team so he can put up easy offensive numbers, but I mean almost 130 points. That's like unheard of in today's NHL. That is why he is my pick for the Russians, but like I said, for some other ones of these, I would not be surprised if you pick a guy like Ovechkin or Evgeny Malkin, but my pick has to be Kucherov. Next up, we have Sweden, and there's a lot of choices. You look at players like Nicholas Backstrom, you have guys like Gabe Landeskog, who just had an amazing season, but when healthy and when on his game, Erik Karlsson is one of, if not the best defenseman in the entire NHL.
Say a lot of people gonna be like,
On the blue line,
why the
and while yes,
frick
he did
did
struggle
you
with injury a
take
little
a
bit this past
tackle with
season,
a
only 52
combat?
games, he still had 45 points.
I don't really like the combat.
But I think
I like the attack a lot more.
next year, and learning his new team.
I'm honestly a pretty big fan of attack.
He's going to have a bounce back year and solidify himself as one of, if not the best defenseman in the entire NHL once again, like he was in Ottawa. Erik Karlsson is a beast, and I don't really think anyone should have a problem with this pick. Next up, we have the Americans, and my pick is easily Patrick Kane. When he decides to retire, he will go down as a top 3 American player of all time, and rightfully so. Multiple Stanley Cups and already 938 career points, and the dude still has a lot more to give. And just when we thought he was slowing down, 110 points this past season, Patrick Kane is a monster, and I don't really think anyone should have a hard time deciding that he is the best current American hockey player in the NHL. And now, finishing out the video with the Canadians, my pick is Connor McDavid. This could be controversial depending on who you ask. I know a lot of people probably think Sidney Crosby is still the best, but in my opinion, right now, Connor McDavid is the best player on the planet. 372 points in 287 career games, 116 points in 78 games. What he's been able to do at such a young age is just super impressive to see, and a lot of people's argument on why he isn't the best is that he should be able to drag any team to the playoffs. Well, this isn't the NBA. You can't just throw LeBron on a team and they're immediately a contender. He does need some help, and while there is some other talented guys in Edmonton, the whole team needs to get better, and when they do, I think they're going to be a powerhouse, and Connor McDavid is definitely going to dominate the NHL for the next 10 years. So that's going to wrap up today's video. I really hope you guys did enjoy. Make sure to let me know down in the comment section if you disagree with any of my picks. What would your list look like? And with all that being said, I hope you guys all enjoyed today's video. If you did, please make sure to drop a like on it and subscribe to the channel for daily NHL content, and I will see you guys all in the next video.
Alright, that was a waste of a freaking mini, I guess. That slip would have definitely been nice. Oh shit, got right here, alright. Okay, I guess I'm build fighting now. When I went to build, didn't build, and that's just great. Alright, I suck. I don't have a great tack next game.
Did you know that having fun isn't hard when you've got a library card?
Do you know what you're doing here today?
Shut up.
It feels weird to hear that.
It was weird. There's sand behind the camera.
Hey!
I'm confused why you're on the other end of the camera. Has he gotten the boot or something since I was here?
Z had heard enough about other people saying, oh, only Corwins win.